And during this time, in the late 1930s, going to movies, he saw newsreel footage of Hitler's armies marching across Europe and in Berlin, burning books. Black and white footage of Hitler's soldiers throwing books into fires and weeping openly, because here was this child whose imagination sprang from books and libraries, and now seeing an army burning them. What I'm doing here is trying to show you the primordial ingredients that would become Fahrenheit 451. The dark, brooding, dystopian vision of these Nazi soldiers burning books is Fahrenheit. And he was enraged by this. Why would an army be so threatened by what's between two covers as to fan fires with these things? He remembers distinctly looking at the books burning and thinking they looked like dying pigeons, an image he used directly in Fahrenheit 451. And so, as he started to write and embark upon a career as a professional writer, graduated from high school in 1938, and started to really pursue writing as an avocation and a profession, writing every day, writing a short story a week every week for a year to get better, because he was a bad writer. He would tell you that early on. He was not a good writer. And quickly he went from being a bad writer to an excellent writer because he wrote so much so fast. He graduated in high school in 1938. By 1945, he had a short story selected for the Best American Short Stories of the Year. Anthologized alongside Carson McCullers, Truman Capote, the great writers of mid-century America. And during this time, as we defeated the tyranny of Hitler, he watched as we turned our own eye of censorship back upon our own citizenry with the House Un-American Activities Committee, as our own government started to look into suspected communist sympathies, particularly in Hollywood. Bradbury was alarmed how we could defeat the villain of Hitler, and now we would bring that sort of a form of censorship upon our own citizens. Angered him. He knew many of these writers, having lived in Hollywood, and saw their careers destroyed by a witch hunt that had no merit. Oftentimes these people had nothing to do with the Communist Party at all. Yet they couldn't write in Hollywood anymore. Their careers were wrecked. They couldn't feed their families because all they knew how to do was write screenplays. And he saw careers destroyed. And I think what's fascinating is he is so often connected to the communist witch hunt because of this book. As I researched my own book, I found that Ray Bradbury's great aunt, 8 times removed, was Mary Bradbury, tried and convicted during the Salem Witch Trials and sentenced to execution. Mary Bradbury. She had a husband in high places. Somehow her jail cell was left open one night, and she escaped into the hills and went on to live into her 90s, which is remarkable back then, and had 11 children, if memory serves correct. And if you go down that family tree of descendants, there is Ray Bradbury. Had Mary Bradbury died during the Salem Witch Trials, none of us would be here tonight talking about this book. It's an incredible bookend of sort of the shameful history of witch hunts in our country. And so he started to write short stories about censorship and about book burnings and about the destruction of masterworks. He has a very simple prescription for writers. Write about things you love and write about things you hate. And in that passion will come some success. And so in writing about books, he loved them, and in writing about censorship, he despised it and started to address this, as he calls, in the 5 firecrackers that would lead to the explosion that is Fahrenheit 451.